Now that we live in a mostly digital age, there are some sad truths we have to deal with in this new landscape. Ownership is now tied to licenses, and when those licenses expire, the purchase you made so many moons ago can evaporate into the ether. In this series, I'll be taking a look back on a fairly recent delisting, the SEGA Genesis Classics. As of December 6th, 2024, this collection of 58 SEGA Genesis games became unpurchasable. Instead of just shrugging it off and going about my day, I have decided to make a series where I go over a few of the games individually, as a way to preserve this weird little and now historic collection. And I hope you will join me on this journey that we will take together as we look into what it means to actually own something in this digital age. SEGA! For the first episode of Delisted, I had but one game in mind, and that was Sonic the Hedgehog. If you ever touched a SEGA console, you have played this game in some shape or form. It has been packed into collections as far back as the Genesis. Hell, my copy of the game was in the SEGA 6-pack. While this one is synonymous with SEGA, as a whole does this original title from 1991 actually hold up today? Or would it be better off forgotten to the sands of time? I could list all the ways this game made SEGA a competitor to Nintendo. Or I could tell you facts about it you probably already know. Did you know that Sonic was made by a committee and was a blend of elements from Felix the Cat and Mickey Mouse?
See, nobody cares.
Does any of that matter to playing the game in this current year? Not really. I mean, obviously, it means Sonic the Hedgehog has merit and a certain level of historical significance to SEGA and to gaming as a whole. But is it fun to play? If we were only talking about Green Hill Zone, then hell yeah, brother. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is as fun as ever. In all seriousness, Green Hill Zone is the Sonic the Hedgehog zone. It's been in more Sonic games than you think it has, and for good reason. It's an icon. Off the top of my head, it was unlockable reward in Sonic Adventure 2. It's in Generations and Mania. It's also Sonic's stage in Smash Bros. I'm sure y'all can give me many more examples in the comments. There is no denying that this stage and its music combined for a top-tier video game level. The imagery from the palm trees to the checkered ground to the waterfall could be looked at from most of the world's population, and they'd know it was Sonic related. And most importantly, the stage is fun. As for Marble Zone, it does slow the game to a crawl, and while speed is very much absent, I'd argue the zone is still fun. Sure, it's tonally a complete departure from Green Hill. However, pushing blocks and jumping over lava is still fun and looks visually appealing. There are a few too many enemies off-screen that you will jump into, and a few of the spike traps that fall from the ceiling will require you to memorize the layout, but it never feels overly obnoxious. When I think obnoxious, I think of Springyard Zone. I will not sugarcoat or apologize for the loathing and displeasure I have for Spring Yard Zone. It's ugly, it's cheap, and it seems to go on for what feels like forever. Thank the heavens, Sonic got rid of 3-act zones. Well, for the most part after this game. Spring Yard ended most of my runs of Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid, and I think because of that, I held on to this belief that 2/3 of this game was fun, so it must be a fun game still. However, because I am an adult now, and I live in the future, I can firmly say this game is not fun overall. The special stages are nauseating, and again, Spring Yard is just overly cheap. Things run into you from the back, there's spikes everywhere. I don't know. It's fairly miserable to play. And that's not even the worst one we go to. Because that crown belongs to Labyrinth Zone. It is in the running for the worst water level ever made. I don't even know how to describe how terrible this zone is. Sonic's whole thing is speed, and you're underwater, slowly walking on the bottom of a lake, wishing you were already dead, but luckily for you, you'll die over and over and over and over again. In fact, there's a link above to watching me die in this stage over and over again, because it literally ended the last run of this game I played. Labyrinth Zone is miserable, and I hate it, and I always will hate it. Thankfully, the game does pick up again in Starlight Zone. With more loops to speed through and a better design philosophy, its verticality feels unique, and using these seesaws to ascend keeps you on your toes. Stage overall feels akin to a Sonic CD stage, which is a breath of fresh air from the slog that is Labyrinth Zone. Overall, I enjoyed Starlight Zone. I think it had a good soundtrack again, and it was pushing you forward, which is what I like in my Sonic games. I like to just keep on moving. It's kind of his whole thing. I honestly have no idea how to feel about Scrap Brain Zone. Yeah, it's like a lot of bottomless pits, which are annoying, and some enemies are in precarious spots. I don't know, it just never feels like overwhelming, just a bit challenging. However, Sonic the Hedgehog then does one of the greatest deceptions in video game history, and that's replacing Scrap Brains Act 3 with a Labyrinth Zone Act 4. And there isn't supposed to be any Act 4s. I'm not sure what Sega had against kids in the 90s, but this was, and will always be, a dick move. And for the final confrontation with Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman for you youngins, it's a lot of just waiting around for his Robotnik to be in the right section of the stage so you can bash him. You're literally gonna stand in the same space, dodge the laser beams, and just wait for him to move through these pistons until he's in the right one so you can hit him. And once you hit him 8 times, that's the end. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is a frustrating game that has been misremembered by me and many others as being fun. All because it truly has one of the best intro stages of all time. Probably why they reuse it so much. Anyways, that's how I feel about Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but how do you feel about it? Maybe I'm just terrible at this game, and that's blinding me from all the positives. Either way, thanks for watching as always. Not sure which game from this collection's next, but it will be one of them. So if you want to hear more about Delisted, feel free to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Same bunny time, same bunny channel. Alright, see ya.